Part 2 was where I was going before with this whole Q&A kind of thing. Thanks for coming back and seeing me. Sometimes I start having this diarrhea of the mouth, and I can't really like control, how long I spend talking about shit. So I'm gonna try to sum up things a lot better from now on, and not have to do, part 3, part 4, part 5 of videos. And hopefully I get all the stuff out there. But these are going to be really informative, these couple of videos, because I have a lot to say right now. And so where the hell were we? Talking about my favorite feud of all time. We were talking about WrestleMania 7. We were talking about Randy Savage versus The Ultimate Warrior. And um, at the time, I really wanted Ultimate Warrior to win this match because he was the good guy and because Savage had cost him the title. And for me, that was really weird because I had followed Macho Man, before that, and always rooted for him. And my mother had a big crush on him, and I think that was a lot of what led me to like him too. Was the fact that the adults were into him, and I wanted to be like the adults. But so that whole feud, it was culminated really well. Like they took the time to develop it. You didn't. Now back then, I think they only had the big four pay-per-views. They had the Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and SummerSlam, and so you had time to tell these stories back then, and I think it helped the product out a lot. Again, just like anybody else out there, you can shoot holes through my opinion like Swiss cheese if you want. That's what the comment section down below is for. See, it says comment somewhere down here, like probably right about here somewhere. Yeah. Um, but honest to God, like that was between that and between Savage putting over Diamond Dallas Page later in WCW, part 2 of his career. Um, like those are two of my favorite feuds ever. But my favorite feud would be Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage that ended at the career-ending match. And just the impact of that was it was awesome. Um, it's too bad that Ultimate Warrior didn't seize that opportunity and run with it. Like he really kind of shit on Vince McMahon and the WWF and all the fans as a whole. But at the time when I was really young, like I, and this is why I can't hold it against the little kids that like John Cena, is because they don't know any better. They don't have the years of experience and knowledge to say, oh well, I guess the bad guy in this case, is a better wrestler and he's putting over this other guy. Because when you're young, you don't think about stuff like that. You just think about, yay, the good guy won. That's how it's supposed to be. And just like with the Ultimate Warrior, he was such a high impact move guy, and he pretty much no-sold the shit out of everybody else's moves. So as soon as he started his little version of hulking up, you knew it was time to kick some ass, and somebody was getting a flying clothesline, headbutt, whatever the hell he did thing. Diving clothesline. Yeah, that was what he did. He ran off the ropes a few times. I mean, he was all over the place anyway. Shit. He must have drank like, 16 cups of coffee before every match. But, like, even with the Hulk Hogan and everything back then, too, is like he was the guy. He was the one that was on all the lunch boxes and the posters and just out in the media everywhere and doing movies. And I think that we forget that. Like a lot of us that are angry at the business now because it's so stale and repetitious. Well, you know, Hogan is as much to blame for that as anybody else because he was the one that said, "Oh, well, let me just, fling the guy into the ropes, give him a big boot and a leg drop, and in 1, 2, 3, it's over. And let me do this Hulk up routine before that with a couple of punches, and that would be my signature thing. And every match I ever have from now until the end of time is going to end that way." And granted, I still mark out for it. Like you really can't blame fans nowadays for seeing Cena or even somebody like Randy Orton that has this recognizable style. Now, that doesn't mean that I necessarily, at 27 years old, after being a wrestling fan for 20, 40 years now, want to see that same stuff over and over again. I think that they could do a lot to develop some of the other talent that they have, mainly The Miz. I really enjoy him. I think that anybody that can't appreciate The Miz's natural talent is a toolbox, and they need to just shut their mouth. Now, granted, I didn't say that you had to like The Miz. I said if you didn't appreciate his natural God-given talent, because he definitely has it. He has it on the microphone. He's been tag champion. He's been U.S. champion. He's been world champion. This guy is groomed for success. He knows what he wants to do. You know, he's had the ball. He's had his chance to run with it. They booked him like shit because they booked him against Jerry Lawler for like 2, maybe 3 pay-per-views. But if you get past all that, like, he had a fair run with the title, and I think that you're going to see a lot more of him in the near future. Another guy I think that they could give the ball to kind of rotate this shitty main event thing, and this will be my next question. Let me just keep going with this topic, would be like, who are a couple of younger dudes that I would really like to see rise to the top, you know, and claim that prize, you know, that world title, or the WWE title, whatever the hell title they're calling it now. Who gives a shit? As long as somebody's got a belt and they're on top, that means that they're doing something right. And so I just said The Miz. Obviously, I'm a Miz fan. And that goes kind of, you know, 2 and 2 together with Alex Riley, who started with The Miz. And then Miz put him over, you know, and that was really important too. I think that A-Rye definitely has it. And I think that it's a lot harder to get over as a face when you start, because you don't have that cult following, you know? Like, it's so easy for a heel to come out there and to start, you know, spitting at people's faces and tell them that they're fat and they're stupid and they don't know anything, and that the heel is better than them, and that, you know, the whole, you know, city of Cleveland stinks or sucks or whatever, like Awesome Truth did this last Monday. Like, that's classic heels drawing heat and making whatever faces are against them seem all that more impressive. You know, but it's hard to live up to that whole face thing because, you know, there's a lot of obstacles in the way. You know, there's so many bad guys out there. Are you really going to persevere and be the last man kind of standing? You know, it's hard to tell that story. And you really, I mean, like, you're so limited in the amount of things that you can do unless you're like an Eddie Guerrero or a Steve Austin or even like a Ric Flair, somebody that can, or Macho Man also, to be able to pull that off. Or even Hogan when it was a face, he still did like the rake of the eyes and the, just like, he would go whip the gas with the belt, you know, like, that was, he was still over, you know, and he was being a good guy doing the heel tactics, and it was like the mind fuck for a minute. But, you know, it's just, I really think that they can get Sheamus over. I really enjoy his ability in the ring. He seems like a really good kind of like brawler character. Like, I think him and Wade Barrett should have a really huge feud for like probably 3-4 months. That would be awesome, and just go back and forth knocking the shit out of each other, and maybe one could bust some teeth out of the other one. I just like those two have really good. They have good size. They're built a lot in the same way, and I think that would just be great brawler match where you can have two guys that can keep up with each other, you know, and the showcase ability and to be able to pull off moves because they're both talented. They can both cut promos. You know, it's just, I think that would really elevate each other. And of course, Wade Barrett being the heel would, you know, employ some shady tactics and get a few victories. And I think that Sheamus could come out of that with a really big, strong finish. You know, like, I know he's in the feud with Christian now, and you better hope to God that Christian puts him over, which I don't think Christian's going to have a problem doing, because Christian has always been one of those guys that has put people over in the past and doesn't have a problem doing it. He's not like a Randy Orton kind of guy where, you know, he's always got to be on top. Like, I mean, he just won the world title, and then he lost it 2 nights later. So, you know, obviously he's not out for just himself. And I think that speaks volumes about the quality of his character and how he feels about the business as a whole. You know, it's not, he wanted to be the champion, yes, and he wanted to be the best in the world, and he went out there every night to prove it. But as long as he stole the show, he was happy with that, because that's what kept people coming. It wasn't all about him holding the title.